Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Hello, everybody. What did I say? Or is it the tone of voice?
It's the tone of voice, I think.
Hi, everybody. Sorry if I blew out your ears. Nice to see you again.
Nice to be heard by you again. I don't know that we're seeing you, but I get it.
So, just to let you know, the Golden Globes nominations came out this week, and you all must have your opinions. We have ours, and we will not be talking about them today, but we will. You can expect to see a special Golden Globes nomination vlog that we pretty much do every year.
Yes.
You can expect to see it sometime soon. So don't worry, we will tell you what we thought about them.
Because I know that you are waiting with bated breath to know how we feel about the Golden Globes.
But we do, because this is award season. We have a vlog today that is full of film reviews. Some are coming out just now. Some are going to come out in a week or two. So we'll talk about all of those. But before, we're going to, some very, very lame stats this time.
I'll say.
We tallied 20 primetime shows, out of which written or co-written by women, 7, which is 35%, and directed 4, which is 20%. I think we can do better, people, so let's get on.
I wish we could add DPs to this list. As a photographer, I find that also women DPs are as rare as hen teeth.
Absolutely.
And they're starting to pop up
a little bit
once in a while.
And since you've mentioned it, it's a good opportunity to say kudos to Chicago Fire. We're still catching on with the episodes, catching up. But they are consistently in the last few episodes. Louise is determined to be featured in our podcast.
She makes noise. She can sit quietly in a little box in a corner
for hours and hours.
And the minute we start doing the podcast, she starts playing, she starts scratching, she starts batting things around.
Anyway, so Chicago Fire now have a female DP, and if you don't know what a DP is the director of photography,
cinematographer.
Yes, so that is fantastic. Kudos, Chicago Fire, and we will point them out when we see them. I would just like to say before we get into, we have 6 movies to tell you about today, but before we get into those, I have to tell you I'm still reeling from The Favorite.
It was delicious.
If you haven't seen our Special Lesbian Movie Club vlog about The Favorite, we really, really urge you to go and check it out and see this movie. It is just
perfection.
It
really
is
so original, but the performances make it. I mean, everything about it is great, but the performances, especially Olivia Colman, will just blow your little minds.
And then there's Rachel Weisz in those beautiful clothes, and she's a brilliant actress.
And Emma Stone is hilarious.
Yes. So really go see The Favorite. But now we'll talk to you about movies that we haven't talked to you about before.
Well, this movie that I'm starting with is not hilarious by any stretch of the imagination. It's a very weird movie.
In fact, you know what? Most of the movies we're talking about today are not
very
hilarious.
Disturbing films. The Kindergarten Teacher, which was released in October in the United States. It's on Netflix right now. It's written and directed by Sarah Colangelo, and it's adapted from the 2014.
Gee, baby, I don't know if in 2014 there were films being made, but
well, if there were, I'd like to find them. The 2014 Israeli movie by Nadav Lapid, a man, and it's starring Maggie Gyllenhaal, Gail Garcia Bernal, and a 5-year-old Parker Sevak, who is the most precious little boy. You will fall so in love with this child.
And he has so much depth.
Oh, my God. The first thing he's ever done, 5 years old, and those eyes, they are like deep pools of wonder and mystery. It's about a kindergarten teacher in New York City who becomes obsessed with a child in her class who she thinks is, and probably correctly, is a child poet prodigy. And she's going through some sort of a midlife crisis, which is kind of obvious, and she's feeling very unfulfilled. She herself is taking a poetry class, and she's quite mediocre. It's a very, very disturbing film, which does not, thank God, cross the final line.
Yes.
But it just, I can't get it out of my mind. Now, Maggie Gyllenhaal was never one of my favorite actresses. I don't like looking at her. I don't like the way she sounds. I really have been a non-fan of hers until she did An Honorable Woman. And she was absolutely brilliant in that. She showed such new depths that I have become a fan of hers. And this movie, she is spectacularly good and vulnerable. And I just loved this movie. It's so disturbing, I can't even begin to tell you. And the director is so wonderful because she builds up this creeping, in a very subtle way, this creeping menace. And you know that it's just not going to end well. Let me warn you in advance, it doesn't end horribly.
Well, you're not actually warning, you're promising them that it's not. Don't worry, it's not.
Don't, be nervous, be anxious. You're not going to, tear your hair out and scream and throw things at the screen when it's over. But there is menace, it is so disturbing. But I couldn't recommend this movie higher. I really couldn't.
And I'm dying to see the Israeli version, which was from 2014. And what I've read, and it's so interesting. And again, this is kind of the difference between a woman filmmaker and a man filmmaker. The man who did this, Nadav Lapid, kind of based a little bit of it about his own experience as a child, and he used his own poems. And apparently, he mostly used the point of view of the child and made it kind of more wondrous. Whereas the woman filmmaker made it more from the point of view of the woman. And so you really can see how men and women can take the same movie, pretty much, the same story, the same movie, and do it
flip
from
it on its edge. I prefer, I'm sure, from the woman's point of view.
I really want us to look for the Israeli version.
I really want to see it
and see what the difference is, because apparently there was a big difference. Now, also there are some language barriers that I'm sure that in translation were lost, some cultural things, but I think that she managed to Americanize it very well and make it universal.
It's amazing. It really is. It's a teeny tiny movie. It looks like a foreign film, which I love. And I can't shake it.
The Kindergarten Teacher on Netflix right now. Check it out. So we're doing this, by the way, in chronological order of release dates.
Oh, we are?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I know. I wanted to surprise you.
Thank you.
So this movie that I'm going to talk about now is actually in theaters today in the U.S. It's called Dumplin. And it's an adorable movie.
It is. It's charming.
And directed by Anne Fletcher, written by Kristen Hahn, and it's extremely very female-heavy behind the scenes. Almost everybody behind the scenes is a woman. It's starring Danielle MacDonald, who you said was Australian,
She's Australian,
right?
Mm-hmm. You'd never guess.
But now I think we've already seen her in something else, and I have a feeling that she's going to be in a lot of things.
Yes, me too.
Jennifer Aniston, Odeya Rush, Maddie Beale, who was...
She was
the star of Hairspray
Live.
Yep.
Exactly.
And Bex Taylor Klaus, who you might know as Bullet from The Killing.
Oh, right, of course.
And it's the story of a plus-size daughter of a tiny town in Texas, pageant director. That's Jennifer Aniston. And her daughter, who, kind of in that way parallels Queen America a little bit, that her daughter doesn't look anything like the girls who usually she would have on her pageants, and she decides as a protest to join the competition. And
a couple of her other off-center friends decide
to join.
One of them because it's something she's always wanted to do,
right.
And this is her chance.
Right.
And the other one just out of pure protest.
Right. So there are two plus size and one...
And her best friend.
Right. Her best friend who is beautiful, but always felt like she was different from everybody else. Mm-hmm. And then Bex Taylor Klaus, who always plays... She's a lesbian, and she oftentimes plays a genderqueer. Mm-hmm. So anyway, girls who don't look like the typical pageant contestant. And they join it as a protest, and they are aided by a group of fabulous drag queens. And
starring Harold Perrineau, who in a million years I would never imagine or see playing a drag queen. He's very effective.
And by joining the contest, first of all, I think they find that they actually enjoy it. And they manage to change things from the inside. They do it in very good spirit. There's no bad person on this movie.
There's not a villain in this movie.
No.
There are no mean girls.
No, not really.
It's a very sweet movie. It has a delicious spirit about it. And
with a very, very good message. And it never gets really too cliche. It actually manages to bring a refreshing and original take on this.
With Dolly Parton being the patron saint of the movie. She wrote several songs for it,
including one that is being nominated for the Golden Globe and probably going to be nominated for an Oscar. And she's the star of the movie is obsessed with Dolly Parton. It's in fact something that she had in common with her
wonderful aunt who she loved, who basically raised her, because her mother Jennifer Aniston was totally obsessed with these pageants.
And she had to work. She was a single mother.
She was a single mother. Yeah. They did not have money.
Right. They still don't.
No.
So this is a beautiful, beautiful, touching, sweet, entertaining movie, which is, by the way, 99.9% women, and even the men are drag queens.
Exactly. And, it's not totally original. There are quite a few cliches in it, but it's a charming movie that if you just want to watch something that'll make you feel good and that you will enjoy, this is the movie for you.
Dumplin in theaters today.
Now, this is a movie that I have a feeling is going to win a lot of awards.
Especially since it's a foreign film, and so it doesn't have to compete with some other American big heavy
but I still think it's going to win a lot of awards. This is Roma, which is in theaters now. It opened this Thursday. Written and directed by Alfonso Cuarón. It's starring all non-actors, all first-time actors, because I certainly don't call them non-actors.
Well,
they were
not professional,
absolutely
no experience.
Spectacular, except for the mother, Marina de Tavira, who is probably a well-known actress in Mexico. It's starring Yalitza Aparicio and Veronica Garcia and Nancy Garcia. Lots of Garcias around.
Didn't they say that it's like the number one name?
From my experience growing up in a 95% Mexican Catholic border town, Garcia was a pretty popular last name.
I saw a documentary once about Garcia, and it tracked down various people of the Garcia name.
And this is a year in the life of a middle-class family in Mexico City in the early 70s, and it's a memory movie based on Cuarón's childhood, and it's a love letter to the neighborhood of Roma, in case you're wondering where Roma came about, which we wondered until... When did we finally...
I read about it.
Oh, you read about it? Yeah.
I had to research it.
Yes, which we did it sort of halfway through, because then it was like, oh, okay, because I kept on saying, why is it called Roma? Roma was the name of his neighborhood. And again, it's all about the women. The men are not only redundant, they're the villains of the piece.
To me, not only is it a love letter to his neighborhood, it's a love letter to the women in his life. The women who raised him.
Including his maids.
Absolutely.
She's the main character. It's a beautiful, moving, tender movie, and it resonated so much with me. I grew up on the Mexican border. We went to Mexico, to Nuevo Laredo, across the bridge many times. So much of the culture is mixed with my cultural heritage, more so almost than America, and certainly anything to do with Judaism. I feel partly Mexican, and I love the Mexican people. We had maids who... because we had a small house, we were, very sort of lower middle class. We had the maid slept in the twin bed in my room, and these women are saints, and they are the glue. Especially the main character, I can't remember her name, unfortunately. Cleo. She is the glue of the family, and she is beloved by all. And these women never stop working. She and the woman who works with her, Adela, they just work day and night. It's not, anything. It's not like they're doing slave labor, but it's a nice big house. They have four children, I think. Yes, and they just keep moving day in and day out. But they are beloved. They are loved. They love the family. This is their family.
I think, though, that you can definitely see in Roma how the men always leave in
Yes.
in his experience, both the man of the house and the men that the maids are involved with, and it's the women who stay together, who raise
help
the
each
family,
other, who raise the family,
yes.
who help each other, who prop each other up,
including the grandmother.
Oh, I love the grandmother. It's in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
It is a stunning film.
It's so moving.
It moves at a very leisurely pace.
The
I
local
say
pace.
It's slow, yeah,
the
right.
local pace.
And you are never bored, not for a second. And you get more and more drawn in as the story becomes a little bit more involving and dramatic. It's a very subtle film. I just loved it. It just stole my heart.
Roma, go see it because it will be very.
It's going to be very prominent in the
yes.
awards this year. And even if it isn't, go see it. Now, here I am again. This is a movie I was really looking forward to. It was written and directed by Barry Jenkins, who did last year's Oscar winner Moonlight.
Was it last year?
I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was the year. Was it
Maybe
the year
before?
Anyway,
yeah.
Based on the book by James Baldwin, and I have to say that I felt that Moonlight was a little overrated. This film, starring Kiki Lane, is Tish, the main character.
Why don't you tell them what it's called?
Oh, If Beale Street Could Talk.
And it opens December 13th.
Right. And
very much talked about.
Is actually, they say, sort of the first street where Black America sort of began.
It became like a metaphor for the experience of the African American
in America. And this takes place in Harlem. And I believe it's also, is it probably also the 70s? It's certainly not now. It stars Kiki Lane, Stephan James, who is also the male star of Homecoming, who's wonderful and beautiful. Regina King, Coleman Domingo, who you would know from Fear the Walking Dead, and Michael Beach, who's in everything. And I never can say her name, but I love her. Anjuanu Ellis, who you might know from Quantico and many, many other things. Everybody is wonderful. It's about a woman in Harlem desperately trying to prove her fiancé innocent of a crime he did not commit while carrying their first child. And, again, the Black experience in America, the failed justice system. Yes, but it's the injustice of the justice system. Yeah. It's a beautiful, painful story, but it is so slow. It is too slow.
Yeah,
it really, really
it's a shame.
It doesn't just take its time, it drags its ass.
It's a shame, because this is, I feel, a very powerful story. And yes. I mean, listen, it's James Baldwin. It's written beautifully.
Beautiful script.
The words are delicious. And it's an important story still today. And I feel that he was just very self-indulgent, the director, and made it very hard to invest in this movie because I kept spacing out because there were conversations. It could have taken a minute. It took 10 minutes. Yeah. I literally mean that. 10 minutes.
It would have been very easy to cut out 20 minutes. It would have been not that hard to cut out a half an hour. Just the pauses between words.
Even. And the actors
were magnificent.
And the story was heart-wrenching.
Heart-wrenching, and a story I'm sure that's been told over and over and over and over again in this country. But I just think he did his film an enormous injustice by being totally self-indulgent. Yeah. But I still recommend it.
If Beale Street Could Talk, it's definitely a very moving story and an important one. So watch it despite the slowness.
Yes.
Now, a movie that is a very unusual role for Nicole Kidman. It's called Destroyer. It opens in theaters December 24th. Directed by Karen Kusama. Written by Phil Hay and Matt Manfredi, I guess.
Manfredi.
Nicole Kidman is basically the movie.
She is the movie.
Though you will see Tatiana Maslany in it.
Yes, not enough. You'll say, I keep is there
waiting.
Not more Tatiana?
I know, I keep waiting for her to have her breakthrough role. And I mean, actually the, what was it, the movie where she played with Jake Gyllenhaal about the Boston
she actually, that was a pretty good size role.
But this one is not.
Stronger, is that what it was? Yes,
but this one is not enough.
But she's delicious and
always. and Sebastian Stan is in it also. But really, this is Nicole Kidman.
Oh my God! If you didn't know it was Nicole, you probably wouldn't have known it was Nicole.
Yes, she really transforms herself
even more than Charlize Theron in Monster.
I don't think so. I think it's pretty much you can equate
a draw. Okay.
Yes. It's about a police detective who used to be undercover. And she is pulled back into that life in order to, they claim, make peace. I say more like exact revenge.
Yes. And also to solve a crime.
Right. But she has a long-standing debt there that she wants to finish. And the experience that she had undercover pretty much destroyed her life.
Exactly. And a decision she helped make
while undercover had very, very important
consequences. And I what I liked very much about this movie, besides the performances, all which are wonderful, especially Nicole, who is always brilliant, always
and very courageous,
never disappoints. It's almost hard to watch her. There's a trajectory that this movie takes that I just love.
And it kind of goes in a circle.
Mm-hmm. And I like that very, very much. And I didn't figure things out, which I like also.
And it keeps going back and forth. And every time you get a little bit more understanding into what's going on.
Exactly.
So it's very, very layered. And I think you said that you read that the director said that working with Nicole was just like watching,
a dream.
Yeah.
Also because she improvises and because she's willing to do anything. She's willing to strip herself naked,
and you can see that
down to the skin,
emotionally
to do what needs to be done. And she'll try anything. She's absolutely fearless. And
you can definitely see this in this performance because she looks so raw. Every nerve looks so exposed, and I really admire her for that. It was a tough movie to watch.
It was,
but
it's not a pretty movie.
Yeah,
and it's very violent. Mm-hmm. It's about bad people.
Yeah.
And
it's about good people who became involved with bad people.
Yes.
But anyway, Destroyer, we really recommend it. The performance alone.
You have to have a little bit of a tough skin, but it's okay. No
animals were harmed.
No animals were harmed. That's exactly what I was going to say. So as long as no animals were harmed and no babies died, I'm okay,
Okay, Destroyer in theaters December 25th. Now, let me sigh first before I start talking about this. This is a very, very excellent movie. It opens in theaters on December 25th as well, and it's called Vice. And if you haven't heard about it yet, it's called Vice because it is about
Dick Cheney,
our
vile vice president,
full of vices, vice president, former vice president,
and the entirety of practically of George W's.
That was messy, by
cabinet.
The way. Yes, but in very so. Okay, let me preface and say this was written and directed by Adam McKay, who also did The Big Short, and he has a very, very specific style that takes a little while to get used to, but it's actually quite genius. What is up with these girls? I guess we're getting very excited. They're excited about all the movies.
It's not exactly the most professional podcast with cats scratching and running and chasing. But
I think cats should be involved in everything.
Okay.
Anyway, his style is a little different, but I think it's quite genius because, and especially, if you can see what's going on in this place, it's practically a circus. Anyway, if you've seen The Big Short, The Big Short is about the financial crisis that we had in 2008.
And sort of how it came about, and it makes it comprehensible in a way.
I do not understand economics or finances. It's like a foreign language to me that I even kind of detest. He managed to make me understand what happened. I can't really explain it to you now.
Can't remember, but
I
at
understood it at the time. Mm-hmm. And he's taking this very, very dense political situation, and he manages to make it palatable and to make it understandable. And so even if he does it in a quirky way, it works. The other thing is that he has such an amazing cast to work with. Next time I'm putting a camera. In the role of Dick Cheney, Christian Bale, unrecognizable.
No, he completely transforms himself.
Plus, amazing makeup and prosthetics for the entire
everybody.
cast.
But he He got Dick Cheney's way of
He
talking.
completely became... Yes.
He looks exactly like Cheney.
And not only that, apparently...
He ate a lot of pie, by the way.
Which is something that I learned about later, which is fascinating to me, because you would think that something like this, which is extremely historical and fact-oriented...
would be scripted to the nth degree.
And it turns out that Adam McKay's style is actually encourages improvisation, and this is why all the cast had to research and really go into character. And this is the first time Amy Adams, who plays Lynn Cheney,
fabulous.
She actually stayed in character throughout filming and they all had to be able to talk policy, to talk, to be able to talk as if they are the person. What would this person say now? And it's fascinating that this was their style. And I think that when you deal with a cast of this caliber, you definitely can trust that they will do all the work in order to be able to do that.
And the horror of how our country was taken over by a few men and transformed into the Patriot Act country we have now, where our constitutional rights have been eroded to the point where people the NSA can listen to you lawfully. It shows in painful detail how we lost our rights because of 9/11 and how Dick Cheney and his cohorts came in and completely they made the presidency like a dictatorship, like a monarch. Nobody stopped them. Every time, Bush was a shadow president. Cheney, as you have probably thought, it's according to this movie, ran the government, and he ran it like a monster.
But what you thought you knew, it's even worse.
It's even worse. Absolutely.
It also shows Mary Cheney, played by Alison Pill, and Lily Ray plays Liz Cheney, the daughters. Mary Cheney is a lesbian, and it shows how that fact affected her family, how it affected him while he was the vice president, and then her sister when she was running. Which was, I'm happy that they incorporated that in.
Yes, in a very big part.
Yep. There were a lot of really big people here, really good actors: Steve Carell, Jesse Plemons, Lisa Gay Hamilton.
Steve Carell playing the horrid Rumsfeld.
And Sam Rockwell played Bush Jr.
He played him very competently and charmingly. Yes. It just made him seem dumber than dirt, but other than that.
It really, really shows the behind the scenes of how it all happened, how we got this far, the reasons for the war. If you suspected, it's not weapons of mass destruction.
We all know that there were no weapons of mass destruction.
There was oil.
There was oil.
There was oil, and there was the opportunity to amass even more power, which is really the key.
And take away the rights of the individual.
And just allow for anything,
trample
from torture.
The Constitution. Yep. And Cheney just would not be stopped.
And even nobody stopped him. No.
They tried.
Yes.
And he just sort of went poo-poo.
Well, this is what happens. They saw 9/11 as the golden opportunity. People were scared. When people are scared, they're much more easily...
led.
Yes, and they would much more easily give their rights away.
To be safe.
Yes.
It's horrifying.
It's a disturbing film. And what's most disturbing about it, of course, is that it all happened.
It all happened.
And that we know that we are still feeling the consequences today. And they're just growing and growing like ripples in a pond. But it's a fungus. It's a very, very important movie that we all have to watch in order to truly understand. Because this is not over, as we know. And we have to be... always vigilant,
and we cannot let these people do this
because they are doing it. They're still doing it. They're building on
before our very eyes.
Well, they're building on the legacy.
It's not even with subterfuge.
And the more rights they take away, the more rights they can take away.
Yeah.
So we have to continue to
fight,
resist. So this is Vice.
Fantastic movie, great performances. I loved Amy Adams, who's actually a villainess.
And by the way, as it turns out also, and this is another aspect of this that is important to our purposes, that Lynn Cheney apparently was pretty much the one who ran the family.
Absolutely.
And he would be a ne'er-do-well.
Totally. He'd be drinking beer. And
she was the one who wanted to do what he did, but she wasn't allowed to because in that time a woman couldn't do it, so she pushed him to do to become what she wanted to become.
She turned him into Dick Cheney.
Yeah. So it's her performance is just as important in this movie.
And the most surprising part of the story to me.
Yeah, I don't think we knew that. Amy Adams, fantastic. I think supporting...
Absolutely.
Definitely supporting awards nominations there. Anyway, you have 6 movies to plan to see in the next couple of weeks. And
all different.
Very, very different.
Each one completely different from the other. All worthy films. Some great, some good. All worth your time and
I have
effort.
to tell you, we've been watching a lot of movies, so you may hear about some more movies. And then, of course, you will be seeing about a month from now our annual alternative to the Oscars feminist award show that we put on at Lady Parts TV. So we'll be telling you about even more films. But anyway, for now, we'd love to know what you thought of these films, or if you have any other films you would like to recommend.
Yes, please.
LadyPartsTV@gmail.com. We're always happy to hear from you. And we will talk to you again next week.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.